Hello and welcome to Alive News, broadcasting from Abuja. I'm Khadija Ibrahim. Here are the top stories making headlines. President Tinubu commissions a new 6-lane concrete road to the Lekki Deep Sea Port. Severe flooding in central Nigeria leaves dozens dead and many displaced. Ram prices surge nationwide ahead of Eid al-Adha celebrations. The Naira gains slightly as dollar supply improves. Former President Obasanjo warns against disinformation in Nigerian history. Now, the news in detail. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu today commissioned a newly completed 6-lane concrete road that leads to the Lekki Deep Sea Port in Lagos. The road is part of a broader infrastructure push by the federal government to decongest Nigeria's port, enhance logistics, and stimulate foreign investment. At the commissioning ceremony, the president said the road signifies a turning point in Nigeria's efforts to create a modern logistics and maritime hub for West Africa. Constructed under a public-private partnership between the Nigerian Ports Authority and private investors, the project is expected to significantly reduce delays in cargo movement and improve connectivity to the Lekki Free Trade Zone. Industry stakeholders say the development may soon rival Apapa Port in container volume and efficiency, if complemented with proper security and regulatory oversight. Tragedy struck several parts of central Nigeria as flash floods swept through communities in Kogi and Benue states, leaving at least 45 people dead and many more displaced. Days of torrential rainfall caused the Benue River to overflow, inundating villages, schools, and health centers. In Mokwa, a cleric, Malam Hassan Umar, recounted losing multiple students when his Quranic school collapsed under rushing waters. Rescue efforts by the National Emergency Management Agency and local volunteers have been hampered by collapsed bridges and washed-out roads. Thousands are now sheltering in public school buildings and makeshift camps. Environmentalists and town planners have attributed the severity of the floods to unregulated construction, clogged drainage systems, and the lack of an early warning system. There are renewed calls for a national flood preparedness strategy. With the Eid al-Adha festivities just around the corner, families across Nigeria are expressing concern over the sharp rise in the cost of sacrificial rams. In Lagos, Kano, and parts of Ogun State, a mid-sized ram now goes for between 200 to 250,000, triple the price recorded just last year. Livestock sellers blame the spike on inflation, fuel cost, and security challenges that make animal transportation expensive and risky. In the Kara market, several traders say sales have dropped as many buyers are now settling for goats or poultry. Religious leaders are advising the faithful not to fall under financial pressure, reminding them that sacrifice should be within one's means and done with sincerity of faith. The Naira posted modest gains today on the parallel market, trading at 1,580 Naira to the dollar, up from 1,600 Naira earlier in the week. This comes as the Central Bank of Nigeria increased forex supply and took steps to restrict speculative trading activities. According to currency analysts, improved liquidity from oil revenues and reduced demand pressure helped stabilize the Naira temporarily. However, economic experts warn that unless Nigeria boosts local production and eases its reliance on imports, the Naira will remain vulnerable. For ordinary Nigerians, the recovery hasn't translated into lower food or fuel prices yet, highlighting the disconnect between currency markets and daily survival. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo raised concerns today about the growing threats of disinformation and historical distortion in Nigeria. Speaking at a national symposium in Abuja, he recalled how false propaganda during the Nigerian Civil War exacerbated hostilities and deepened the human toll. Obasanjo warned that a similar pattern is emerging today, with misinformation flooding social media and influencing political discourse. He called on educators, journalists, and the public to prioritize truth and critical thinking, stressing that no nation can build a stable future on lies and manipulated history. Lagos State is preparing to launch Nigeria's biggest indoor entertainment and sports venue, a 12,000-seat multipurpose arena, by December this year. Located in Lekki, the Lagos Arena is being developed through a public-private initiative and is expected to host international concerts, sporting events, expos, and high-profile conferences. Officials say the facility will boost local employment, attract global acts, and enhance Lagos' image as a premier destination for arts and culture in Africa. Experts project the arena could generate over 30 billion naira in tourism and hospitality revenue within its first year of full operation. Nigeria joined the global community in observing World Environment Day, but the mood was sobering as environmental groups warned of the country's worsening plastic waste crisis. According to data from the Federal Ministry of Environment, Nigeria generates over 2.5 million tons of plastic waste annually, most of which ends up in drains, water bodies, and landfills. In Lagos, volunteers organized street cleanups and advocacy rallies calling for the ban of single-use plastics. Environmental scientists have linked plastic waste to increased flooding, disease outbreaks, and ecosystem destruction. They are urging the government to adopt a legislation similar to Kenya's 2017 plastic ban and invest in recycling infrastructure. In the international scene, the United States government has announced a new travel restriction affecting 12 countries, including Nigeria. The ban, which takes effect next week, will apply to both immigrants and non-immigrant visa categories, such as students, tourists, and temporary workers. Washington says the restriction is based on updated security protocols and vetting concerns. However, critics in Nigeria's diplomatic and civil society circles are describing it as discriminatory and counterproductive. Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs says it has requested formal clarification from the United States authorities and is considering reciprocal measures. Apple has released its annual economic impact report, revealing that its App Store ecosystem generated a staggering $1.3 trillion in global developer sales in 2024. The figure includes revenue from app downloads, subscriptions, in-app advertising, and digital goods. The company credits small and medium-scale developers, especially in emerging markets, for driving much of the growth. In Nigeria, app-based businesses have grown by over 30% in the last year, fueling innovation in fintech, e-learning, and digital entertainment. Apple says it will expand training and funding programs to support African developers. The Japanese government has begun releasing thousands of tons of rice from national reserves to ease pressure on food prices amid ongoing inflation concerns. Japan's Ministry of Agriculture says the move is part of a broader strategy to stabilize the cost of staples as households face rising living expenses. Though Japan has experienced a relatively mild inflation rate compared to the West, food prices, particularly imported grain, have seen a sharp uptick due to global supply chain disruptions. Analysts say this stockpile release will offer temporary relief, but stress that long-term food security requires deeper policy changes. That wraps up our news for today. Thank you so much for watching Alive News. I'm Khadija Ibrahim.